The colony of Aurelia 9 was quiet that morning. Commander Ilara Voss stood at the edge of the settlement's western perimeter, boots sinking slightly into the dew-covered grass. A line of silver defense pylons blinked slowly behind her, humming with latent energy. Beyond them stretched the violet horizon of alien plains, studded with spiked trees swaying in the warm wind. Peaceful. Deceptively so. Commander Voss, patrol logs are clean. No movement past range marker 6 in 24 hours, reported Sergeant Halverson through her comm. Copy. Maintain perimeter watch. No assumptions, Ilara replied. Her voice was low, clipped. She turned as soft footsteps approached. A small figure darted from behind a hab-block, barefoot, carrying a crumpled sheet of synth paper. "Hi," said the girl, smiling. 6, maybe 7 years old. Blonde hair in uneven braids, dirt smudged on her cheeks. "I drew something for you." Ilara knelt to one knee, surprised. "For me?" The child handed her the paper. A scribbled drawing, stick figures in white armor standing over a village, shielding it from shadowy monsters. The words, "Thank you, Guardian," were written in uneven handwriting below. "My name's Ava. You helped my mom when the power went out last week. She says you're the protector." Ilara stared at the picture longer than she meant to. She felt something tighten in her chest. "Thank you, Ava," she said gently. She reached into her coat and pulled out an old silver coin, her unit's insignia, long retired. "This brought me luck. I think it belongs to you now." Ava's eyes lit up. "Really? Only if you promise to stay brave." "I'm always brave," the girl said, gripping the coin like a treasure. "You'll keep us safe, right?" Ilara hesitated. "Always." That night, the screams started. Ilara bolted upright in her quarters as the emergency klaxon blared. Red light flooded the hallway. Her comm lit up, static, then shouts. "Unauthorized breach, outer sector. Civilians down, we need evac, gods, they're everywhere." She sprinted to the command deck, already in armor. The colony's outer ring was ablaze. Smoke bloomed into the sky, flickering orange. Plasma fire. No warning. No declaration. "Who attacked us?" she barked. A shaken officer answered, "Egrethi Strike Team. Stealth dropship bypassed orbital scans. Hit Block 6 directly, residential units." Ilara's blood froze. "Block 6. Is the evacuation underway?" "Too late, Commander. Most were asleep. It's a massacre." She was already moving, her rifle slung across her back. Block 6 looked like a war zone. Buildings had collapsed inward. Blackened walls hissed with steam. The smell, burned flesh and melted circuitry, hung in the air like rot. Ilara moved through rubble like a machine, eyes scanning. Then she heard it, a faint, whimpering breath. Her boots skidded across scorched floor panels as she dropped to one knee. Buried beneath part of a collapsed stairwell was Ava. Half her body crushed under debris. Blood pooled beneath her. Her hand still clutched the silver coin. "Med-evac to my position now," Ilara shouted into her comm. Ava's eyes fluttered open. "Ilara, they hurt, Mom." "Sure. I'm here," Ilara whispered. Her hands trembled as she gripped Ava's tiny fingers. "You're going to be okay." But she knew the truth. No one could take that much damage and walk away. The medical team arrived 5 minutes too late. Later, in the war room, Ilara stood like stone while the holo footage played on loop. A body cam feed from Ava's house, security grade. The door exploded inward. Black-armored Egrethi soldiers stormed inside. Screams. Ava's mother shielding her. A blast of light. Silence. Then Ava's high, piercing scream as one of them stepped forward and... Ilara closed her eyes. On the other side of the room, Earth Command flickered into view, half a dozen shimmering holograms representing the United Terran Council. "We understand your anger, Commander," said Admiral Lurian. "But retaliation without clear authorization will jeopardize the Aurelia Accord." Ilara turned toward them. Her voice was calm. Too calm. She was 6 years old. It was a rogue strike force. The Egrethi ambassador claims no official involvement. So they get to murder children and hide behind politics? She asked, stepping forward. War with the Egrathi is not something we can afford, said another voice. We can't afford silence either. Ilara, Lurian said more softly, I know what you're feeling, but you must stand down. We'll convene within 48 hours to address the council. She stared at the glowing faces in silence, then reached out and disconnected the transmission with one tap. In the hallway outside, she leaned against the cold wall. She listened to the buzz of overhead lights, the distant hum of hospital machines keeping Ava's barely functioning body alive. Her hands curled into fists. Her whisper was a vow. You want to wait. But I won't. She stepped away from the wall, eyes cold. They hurt a human child. She drew her sidearm, checked its charge. We answer in fire. Ilara stood in the shadows of the medical wing, arms folded tight across her chest. Beyond the reinforced glass, Ava lay motionless, wrapped in pale blue neural mesh. Her small frame looked swallowed by the medical bed. Tubes threaded from her arms and chest into humming machines. A neural stabilizer blinked in rhythm with her slowing pulse. The room was sterile. Clean. Too clean. Like it could erase what had happened. A soft knock echoed from the hallway. Permission to enter, came a familiar voice. Ilara didn't look back. Granted. Lieutenant Sarah Dan stepped in, her tactical suit still dusted with ash from the earlier operation. She walked to Ilara's side and stared through the glass. She's still breathing, Sarah said quietly. Barely. The silence between them was heavy. Then Ilara spoke, flat and restrained. We have the strike location. Tigrax Hollow. Satellite recon shows recent Egrathi drop pod heat signatures. And shield fluctuations. Sarah nodded. That's where the bastards ran. I'm going after them, Ilara said. You mean, we? Ilara turned. This isn't sanctioned. Neither was what they did. A beat. Then Sarah smiled faintly. I don't care about orders. I'm with you. Within hours, Ilara began assembling the team. First was Rafe, demolitions expert and former special ops. They found him on the western mining belt, welding charges into a tunnel wall. He didn't ask questions. Just nodded once, grabbed his gear, and walked beside her. Second came Milo, combat medic turned agricultural specialist. She interrupted his shift at the hydroponics lab. They used children in that raid, she told him bluntly. I need someone who can keep others alive when bullets start flying. Milo hesitated. Ilara. I swore off combat. I've seen enough dying. You'll see more if you stay here. He looked away, jaw clenched. Then quietly said, I'll pack. Last came Kiran, a modified AI once flagged for emotional instability, now buried in a warehouse, disconnected. Ilara walked alone into the cold storage unit. Dust-covered crates lined the walls. She found the black coffin-like pod in the back and keyed in the override. The containment shell hissed open. Kiran's photoreceptors flickered to life. Blue turned amber. Combat protocol, active, it said in a calm, artificial voice. Unit. Operational. Hello, Commander. You still want to protect humans, Kiran? Affirmative. Good. We're going hunting. Back in the war room, Earth Command called again. This time, Ilara didn't bother with pleasantries. I'm going to Tigrax Hollow. I have proof the attackers fled there. Admiral Lurian leaned forward in the hollow. We haven't confirmed Egrathi involvement. This could be a rogue faction. I've seen the footage. I've got DNA traces. Uniform insignias. This wasn't rogue. This was strategic. And if it was meant to provoke us, then it worked. Another admiral cut in. If you escalate this, if you retaliate without authorization, you'll trigger war. We're already in one, Ilara replied. You're a soldier, Voss. Act like one. I am. That's why I'm not asking for permission anymore. She cut the link. Ilara returned to Ava's room one last time before departure. The hallway was dim. Alone, she stepped inside and sat beside the girl's bed. Ava didn't move. Ilara reached into her jacket and pulled out a small object, The military coin Ava had clutched, now polished clean. "I made a promise," she said softly, her voice nearly breaking. "I told you I'd protect you." Her fingers brushed Ava's small hand. "They hurt you because they thought we wouldn't fight back. That we'd wait, that we'd beg for peace. But they forgot one thing." She stood, eyes cold again. "They forgot what humans do when you touch our children." In the ship's hangar, the team stood assembled beneath the hull of a stealth transport, matte black and silent. Weapons checked. Armor sealed. The cargo bay filled with tension. Kieran ran final checks. Atmospheric interference on Tigrak's hollow likely. Terrain volatile. Scans indicate bioluminescent flora. High radiation pockets. "We'll go in blind past 400 meters." "Perfect," Rafe muttered. "Nothing like landing in hell." Sarah clipped her rifle to her shoulder. "We touch down, confirm target, and extract only after the compound is ashes." "We clear." Heads nodded. Milo looked hesitant. "No air support." Ilara answered, "We stay off the grid. No one's coming for us if it goes south." Silence fell. Then Ilara stepped onto the boarding ramp, her voice calm and final. "They thought they could break us by hurting what we love. Let's show them what happens when they fail." The hatch sealed shut. The engines roared to life. The hunt had begun. The dropship bucked as it punched through the turbulent atmosphere of Tigrak's Hollow. Outside, molten clouds churned across a bruised sky. Lightning arced in jagged forks, lighting up the mist-coated terrain like a flashbulb over a corpse. 30 seconds to touch down," Kieran said, voice even as ever. The artificial being sat calmly, strapped in with his rifle laid across his lap like a resting beast. Ilara tightened her harness. Across from her, Sarah ran final checks on her gear. Rafe hummed to himself, checking a grenade's arming mechanism like a man inspecting his breakfast. Milo tapped nervously against his knee, gaze distant. "Place gives me the creeps," he muttered. "That's because everything here is toxic," Rafe said. "Air, water, plants. Even the dirt hates you." "Perfect place to hide something ugly," Ilara said. Her tone was sharper than the edge of the blade strapped to her thigh. The ship hit the ground with a low, bone-shaking thud. The ramp dropped. Wind screamed in, hot and foul. Ilara rose. "Move." They emerged into a twisted valley of glowing fungus and steaming rock. Thick vines pulsed faintly underfoot, bioluminescent tendrils curling like fingers. Radiation counters clicked softly in their helmets. "Stay inside the suits," Milo said. "You breathe this, you die coughing blood." Their path wound between jagged outcroppings and half-collapsed ruins, remnants of a failed Egrethi outpost from the last border war. Nature here didn't reclaim, it devoured. Kieran held up a fist. Heat signatures, faint, quarter-click north. "Movement?" Ilara asked. "Stationary. Clustered. Could be prisoners," Milo whispered, hope creeping in. "Or bait," Sarah countered. She raised her rifle and nodded. "We go quiet." They moved with precision, boots silent against ash-laced stone. As they approached the ruined structure, an old biodome half swallowed by fungus, Ilara signaled for a halt. Kieran ran a silent scan. The dome pulsed faintly with internal energy. A power source. Inside, Kieran confirmed. 3 humanoid heat patterns. Bound. No gods. "Too easy," Sarah said, narrowing her eyes. Ilara made the call. "Rafe, breach on my mark." He planted a charge on the sidewall, small and shaped. Seconds later, PHFFT. A pop, a flash, and the wall hissed open. They stormed in. 3 figures, 2 humans, 1 Terran variant alien, lay bound in containment gel. Emaciated. Bruised. Ilara rushed forward. "Get them loose." Milo sliced through the gel, checking pulses. Alive. Weak, but stable. The alien's eyes fluttered open, milky and filled with fear. "Trap. You have to go." Kieran spun toward the rear wall. "Incoming." The ceiling blew inward. Egrethi soldiers dropped like insects, black armor gleaming, rifles barking. Gunfire erupted. Ilara dove behind a collapsed console, squeezing off controlled bursts. Beside her, Sarah flanked left, weapon barking in rhythm. Kieran stood fully exposed, shielding the prisoners, rounds pinging off his reinforced chassis. 2 more at the north entrance. Rafe shouted, hurling a flash charge. White light. Screams. Milo dragged one of the prisoners toward cover, shouting for help. Ilara slid in, covered his path. Go, she yelled. A soldier lunged toward her from the smoke. She didn't shoot. She spun and drove her blade under his chin, up through the visor. He dropped without a sound. Seconds stretched into violence. Then silence. Bodies everywhere. Smoke rising. The scent of burnt ozone clung to the walls. Rafe spat blood. Well, that was rude. Later, under makeshift shelter, Ilara paced. They knew we were coming. Definitely, Sarah said. This wasn't just bad luck. They wanted us here. Why? Milo asked, voice hoarse. To distract us from something else, Ilara said grimly. The girl. Ava. She was targeted. This wasn't random. Kieran's voice cut in. Intercepted signal. Encrypted. Origin. North quadrant. Beyond ridge. Coordinates transmitting. Low orbit beacon. Short window. Ilara's eyes narrowed. A beacon. Rafe looked up. Extraction. Or cargo delivery, Kieran said. Human biosign data attached. Sarah cursed. They're trading intel. On us. Ilara turned to the group. New objective. We take that beacon. No matter who's waiting. The next ridge rose like a jagged scar across the horizon. They moved fast, cutting through pockets of hostile terrain. Every step forward was met with resistance. Malfunctioning drones, tripwire mines, aggressive fauna. Rafe lost a patch of armor to an acid-spitting vine. Milo doused it with neutralizer and slapped him back on his feet. Tell me again why we didn't stay retired. Rafe muttered. Because they hit a child, Sarah answered coldly. No one argued. By nightfall, they reached the top. Below lay a landing zone, half hidden in a crater. And sitting atop it, sleek, sharp, unmistakable, was a Vitraxi scout craft. Ilara's heart dropped. The Vitraxi? Milo whispered. But they're our allies. Not anymore, Ilara growled. They're buying humans. Kieran zoomed in. Transmission window. 8 minutes. We strike now or lose the trail. Ilara didn't hesitate. Go loud. They descended like falling stars, fast and precise. Rafe took point, grenades bursting at the perimeter. Sarah cut down guards with surgical efficiency. Kieran ripped through automated turrets. Ilara made straight for the command node at the center of the crater. A Vitraxi officer was there, insectoid limbs flicking across a control pad. Cancel the signal, she barked. The Vitraxi clicked in alarm. You don't understand. This is bigger than you. She shot the console. The beacon shattered in sparks. A nearby uplink burst into flame. Sarah dragged a comms pack from the wreckage. We have logs. Coordinates. Buyer information. Ilara stared at the burning scout ship. Her jaw was set in stone. They're not just trading children, she said. They're cataloging us. Selling our DNA. Testing reactions. For what? Milo asked. Ilara looked back toward the horizon. For war. The Vitraxi jump gate loomed ahead, an obsidian ring suspended in orbit above Tigrax Hollow, pulsing with a steady heartbeat of crimson energy. It wasn't just a relay, it was a direct passageway to the Vitraxi inner sectors. Unofficial space. Unwelcoming space. Unmapped coordinates, Kieran said, analyzing the beacon data they'd recovered. This gate isn't listed in any Alliance record. Because it wasn't meant to be found, Ilara muttered, staring at the swirling vortex in the center. But we found it. And now we kick the door in. Gates powering up, Milo reported, eyes locked on the readout. They're expecting someone. Sarah checked her rifle. Then we won't disappoint them. The dropship's hull creaked as they approached. The moment they crossed the event horizon, gravity folded in on itself, and the universe blinked. They emerged in silence. Not into a station or a fleet or a border checkpoint, but into a graveyard. Derelict vessels floated in slow, disjointed spirals. Human, Egrethy, Vitraxi, some decades old, others still bleeding fuel and coolant. This wasn't a battlefield. It was a disposal ground. "What is this?" Milo whispered. "Testing site," Elara said grimly. "They lured ships here. Disappeared them." Kieran extended a sensor probe. Coordinates locked. Transmission source is still active. One vessel. 70 clicks out. Minimal movement. No transponder. "Take us in quiet," Elara ordered. "Full blackout." The target vessel drifted in darkness. No lights, no signals, just the quiet hum of something still alive deep within. It was not Vitraxi built. Human origin. Older. Pre-expansion era. Designation, Ardent Resolve, Kieran confirmed. Presumed lost 26 years ago. Final mission, Deep Scout into Egrethy-controlled space. Milo leaned forward. "That ship disappeared before I was born." "Looks like it found its way here," Sarah muttered. "Or it was brought," Elara said. "They docked with magnetic clamps. No resistance. No alarms." The airlock hissed open, breathing stale, recycled air into their suits. Rafe wrinkled his nose. "Smells like rust and ghosts." The corridors were dim, flickering emergency strips barely guiding their path. Bulkheads had been welded shut. Others torn open by something not mechanical. "Signs of forced entry," Kieran said. "Organic damage. Claws, not tools." Elara raised her weapon. "Be ready." They reached the main command deck without incident. Screens crackled with static, data loops long corrupted. But someone, or something, was still here. In the center of the bridge sat a human figure. Slumped. Still. Elara moved forward, cautious. "Hello." No response. Kieran scanned. "He's alive." "Barely." Milo rushed in, checking vitals. The man was ancient, skin weathered like sun-bleached leather, eyes sunken but aware. He blinked once. Twice. Then tried to speak. "No one should have come here," he rasped. "We followed a signal," Elara said. "Children are being taken. Traded. We traced the buyers." The man coughed, voice hollow. "They always needed samples. It started with tissue. Then embryos. Now, they want reactions." Sarah frowned. "Reactions? To trauma. To fear. They test the edge of our species, our rage." Kieran's voice cut in. "Motion detected. Aft cargo hold." The old man's eyes widened. "Too late." They heard it first, a low, chittering growl, followed by the clang of metal bending. A wall buckled inward. Something large, spined and insectoid forced its way through. Vitraxi adjacent in design, but twisted, longer limbs, serrated claws, and a face that resembled a human child's scream, molded into flesh. Milo recoiled. "What the hell is that?" "Hybrid," Kieran said. "Spliced. Engineered for terror." The creature lunged. Elara opened fire, shot slamming into its carapace. It staggered, but didn't fall. Rafe and Sarah joined in, rounds thudding into the creature's limbs. One arm flew off, spurting black fluid. It shrieked, not in pain, but rage. The fight spilled through the hallways, the beast charging walls and support beams to collapse corridors behind it. "They're building soldiers," Sarah said between shots. "From us." "They're building monsters," Elara corrected. They finally brought it down in the old med bay, cornering it against containment fields and overloading the magnetic locks to crush its spine. The body twitched once. Then went still. The silence was worse. "We need to destroy this place," Elara said, breathing heavily. "Every sample. Every log." Kieran nodded. "Explosives set. 5-minute timer." They carried the old man with them as the ship systems began to shudder. In the hangar bay, a second dropship rested, old, but functional. Milo looked back as they boarded. "That creature, it was part human." "Which means they got someone before Ava," Sarah said. "Or after." "No," Elara said. They don't need to take many. Just the right ones. They punched out of the dead zone just as ardent resolve vanished in fire. The explosion lit up the graveyard, sending fragments of ancient hulls drifting into the void. Kirin checked the logs. There's another site. Hidden in the Veil quadrant. Heavily encrypted. Human DNA matches logged there. Elara stared through the viewport, jaw tight. How many more children did they take? Milo asked. Elara didn't answer. She turned, voice low. Prep for warp. We don't stop until every lab is ashes. Rafe smiled grimly. Now that's the humanity they wanted to study. They arrived in silence. No warning, no declaration. The Vigilant Dawn, humanity's Black Ops dreadnought, exited warp above Veil Quadrant's 7th moon. Sleek, matte black hull absorbing starlight, it didn't broadcast signals. It didn't need to. Everyone who saw it knew what it meant. Retribution. Elara stood on the command deck, arms crossed behind her back. She stared at the moon's surface, metal veins pulsing beneath cracked stone, too symmetrical to be natural. Base is buried deep, Kirin reported. Camouflaged with volcanic overlays. Entry points are narrow. Designed to resist orbital scans. Not orbital bombardment, Rafe muttered. No, Elara said, but we're not here to glass it yet. We go in. We show them a face. Then we burn it. Sarah grinned. Boots first, fire later. I like that order. The team loaded out in silence. No speeches. No pep talks. Just the hum of weapons charging and armor locking into place. They were past words. They had seen what the enemy was. The moon's surface was a wasteland. Wind screamed across ash dunes, cutting visibility to meters. But Kirin's visor mapped heat signatures beneath their feet. Tunnels, activity. Life. Or something like it. Pressure plates ahead, Kirin said. Mechanical sensors. No biological filters. Means they don't expect anything with blood, Rafe muttered. Sarah cracked her knuckles. Let's surprise them. They dropped into the first shaft, an artificial tunnel laced with organometal walls. Human voices echoed faintly from deep within, murmurs, sobs, laughter that never quite reached joy. Then, silence. The team rounded a corner and found the source. Cells. Rows of them. Children inside, human, half-human, and things in between. Some huddled. Some watched quietly, eyes too old for their faces. They didn't cry. They didn't speak. They stared. Elara's breath caught. One girl stood when she saw them. Barely 8. No shoes. Scars on her neck. She blinked slowly and whispered, "Are you from Earth?" "Yes," Elara said gently, lowering her weapon. "We came for you." The girl's eyes welled up. "They said no one would come." Rafe blasted the lock open. They all came pouring out. Alarms wailed. White lights turned red. Kirin pulled up a schematic. Central labs 3 levels down. Heart of it all. If they're storing genetic archives or test logs, they'll be there. "We get the kids to the evac point," Elara said. "Then we go straight to the core." Sarah nodded. "Time to end it." Rafe turned to one of the older children. "Do you know the way out?" The boy nodded, sharp and silent. "Then lead them. Stay low. Move fast. Don't stop." They watched the children vanish into the shadows, silent steps, wide eyes, broken trust slowly mending. Then they turned and descended. The labs were a nightmare of steel and flesh. Screens displayed neural pain graphs. Tanks held organs in fluid. Vitraxi scientists, thin, multi-eyed, and twitching, fled at the sight of them. The team didn't hesitate. One by one, they put the scientists down. Clean shots, no mercy. Elara kicked open the final door. The central chamber glowed with pulsing blue conduits. In its center stood a being not entirely Vitraxi, a fusion of species. Tall, draped in a robe of moving light. Its voice cut into their minds directly. "You misunderstand. You think this is cruelty. It is purpose. Progress. You took our children," Elara said coldly. "You tortured them." "We studied them," it replied. their pain, their strength, their limits. Humans are violent, reactive, dangerous. You're damn right, Rafe growled, raising his weapon. The being raised a hand, and time wavered. Minds buckled. Sarah dropped to a knee, nose bleeding. I am the architect, it said, born of logic and evolution. You are emotional. Reckless. You're afraid, Ilara said. It hesitated. That's why you need our rage. Why you harvest it. You don't understand it. She raised her rifle. But you're about to. She fired. The architect staggered, barriers collapsing. The team advanced, firing in coordinated bursts. Kieran deployed drones that hacked the chamber's AI, causing sparks and chaos. The architect shrieked, a sound that had no beginning, only end. Rafe leapt, knife in hand, and drove the blade straight into its chest. It froze, shuddered, and crumbled into ash. Kieran's voice crackled through comms. Self-destruct initiated. We've got 5 minutes. They sprinted out, boots slamming against the floor. In the distance, the children were boarding shuttles. Other human strike ships had arrived, black armored marines guiding evac and loading wounded. Humanity had come in force. Ilara's squad boarded last. As the ship lifted off, the facility beneath them bloomed with fire, magma splitting the surface, the base folding in on itself. From orbit, it looked like the moon cracked open and wept lava. Back on the Vigilant Dawn, Ilara stood before the command table, watching survivor reports flow in. Hundreds of children. Scarred, yes. But alive. General Ortiz appeared on the hololink. You did it, Captain. You found them. No, Ilara said. We showed them what happens when you hurt a human child. Ortiz nodded. The Alliance is listening now. The Vitraxi will pay for this. They already are. Rafe leaned against the wall, arms crossed. They wanted to study our limits. Our rage. Our breaking point. Sarah looked out the viewport. They didn't find a limit. They found the fuse. Ilara exhaled slowly. And we lit it. The galaxy watched what happened next. The footage of the labs. The children. The architect's last words. Humanity didn't just send ships, they sent proof. Worlds that had once whispered of Earth's decline now turned to face the fire that had never gone out. No more hiding. No more diplomacy. When the last report came in, every Vitraxi testing site burned, every child recovered. Ilara stood alone for a moment, staring into the stars. We're not monsters, she whispered. But we are what you made us. And across the stars, empires trembled. Because they finally understood. You don't hurt a human child. Not unless you want the sky to burn.